This is so good. Can't wait to share this. Guy's name is John Lennox, and I've seen him talk several times. He's a mathematician. He's on YouTube a lot. He's being interviewed by people. He's a professor emeritus from Oxford. Absolutely brilliant guy. And he makes some brilliant arguments at the, what do they call it? The intersection of science, philosophy, and religion. But he talks about Christianity. He's 80 some years old, and he's awesome. Anyway, he was on an interview with the UK's top podcaster, a guy named Matthew Bartlett, I believe. And this guy's got millions of followers and obviously a huge platform, and he's an agnostic or an atheist, but he's one of these guys that will talk to people about things, which I love. And this clip, though, is amazing. And I'm going to play it for you. Even though I'm in a radio studio, I can't figure out how to play this smoothly. I'm actually literally going to hold my phone up to the microphone so you can hear this in a moment. So it's a little bit low tech, but you'll be able to hear it. It's so good. I got to remind you too, by the way, thanks for listening. Glad you're here. Got to remind you, our sponsor is United Faith Mortgage. They're awesome. UnitedFaithMortgage.com. Can't recommend them enough. And if you're thinking about buying a house, just thinking about it, like trying to get your head around where you could be or what you might be able to afford, that sort of stuff. They're great to talk to. They're direct lenders too. It's a small family operation, but they're part of a bigger thing where they have access to more buying power, basically, or more resources, so they can get really creative and help you potentially. So it's UnitedFaithMortgage.com. Here is it's less than 2 minutes, but here we go. You can listen to this interview, Dr. John Lennox, and then this guy who's really awesome. Here we go.
In a world with so many challenges, what can we do to restore hope and trigger engagement?
Give people a real basis for hope that transcends this world. And the only place I know where to find that is in Christ and in Christianity.
John, thank you. One of the most compelling arguments for God that you've presented and your way of seeing the world and being is not actually necessarily anything you've written in your books, or not necessarily anything you've said. It is actually you, and you have a certain peace and contentment that I rarely see in people that I interview, but I often see, and I've almost always seen in the Christians that I've interviewed. And this is a interesting phenomenon for me. I interviewed Wesley Huff recently. Do you know Wesley Huff?
Yes.
He was the same
Canadian.
as you. Yeah.
Wesley's a bright cookie.
Yeah, he gave me the same feeling as you, just like feels like a really happy person, very sort of content, rounded, well...
There are many of us.
Yeah, but it seems to be a trend that, a lot of the Christian apologists that I've interviewed have that anchoring that so many of us are looking for.
There's a real sense of that. I sit in front of many people, and of course they often ask me questions I don't even understand, but in life, that peace is very important to me. And also what we started with, when I look at you, I see someone who's of infinite value, made in the image of God. And so what I say to you or think about you is hugely important to me. And I wish you well.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. And then the next video starts rolling on social media, but so good. So did you catch that though? Like, this guy has made so many great arguments for the existence of God and whatnot. And here it comes down to he's at peace. And also that the host can tell, and this is a younger guy, the host can tell that Lennox is for him. And Lennox effectively acknowledges that that's what's going on, because he's like, well, yeah, but I see you're made in the image of God, so you're very important to me. And he says, thank you. You see how much this matters to people? Like, you're not going to find a better apologist, in my opinion, than John Lennox in terms of the arguments that he makes. But beyond the arguments, how did he act? Was it coupled with love? Was it coupled with peace? That's what matters. I had an interview this week with a guy who I like this guy. I'm rooting for this guy. He interviewed me. He's a Christian, a very well-known Christian author, and he's way into politics. He comments on politics all the time, and he's very wound up about politics, and I understand. I get it. But he was talking to me about the concepts that I talk about, like here on this podcast, about anger and forgiveness and operating in a world where we pursue justice without anger. And he struggled. I mean, a lot of the interview was just him struggling to get his head around this. Like, what do you mean we don't strike back, basically? Like, if they hit us hard, we can't just take it. And I run into this quite a bit because there's this presumption or this conflation of the way of Jesus with some kind of weakness. And I don't know, I guess I do know where that's coming from, but it's not weakness. And if you're going to stake a claim in public for whatever issue, and I might be right there with you on the issue, but if it's not done with love, you've lost the thing. We don't operate by power and coercion. That's not when we're at our best. That's not the way of Jesus. The way of Jesus is actually through sacrificial love that we operate. And it's really hard for some people to understand. Even people who've been around Christianity for a long time, they just think, well, you can't, I can still call people morons, right? If they're more, like, actually the way you come across is everything. And I'm not saying you back down one bit on the importance of what you're talking about, but you'll do it better without anger. And if you don't have love, you're just a bunch of noise. You can see the persuasive power in that clip I just played for you when you're actually at peace. I want to read from 2 Peter because a lot of people can't handle this either. I mean, people really struggle. This is 2 Peter chapter 2. I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but think about this. This is all about living in a culture that's hostile to Christianity. Peter writes, "Dear friends, I warn you, as temporary residents and foreigners," this is the New Living Translation, "as temporary residents and foreigners, to keep away from worldly desires that wage war against your very souls. Be careful to live properly among your unbelieving neighbors. Then even if they accuse you of doing wrong, they will see your honorable behavior and they will give honor to God when he judges the world. For the Lord's sake, submit to all human authority, whether the king as head of state or the officials he has appointed, for the king has sent them to punish those who do wrong and to honor those who do right. It is God's will that your honorable lives should silence these ignorant people, those ignorant people who make foolish accusations against you. For you are free, yet you are God's slave, so don't use your freedom as an excuse to do evil. Respect everyone and love the family of believers. Fear God and respect the king. You who are slaves must submit to your masters with all respect. Do what they tell you, not only if they're kind and reasonable, but even if they're cruel. For God is pleased when, conscious of his will, you patiently endure unjust treatment. Of course, you get no credit for being patient if you are beaten for doing wrong. But if you suffer for doing good and endure it patiently, God is pleased with you. For God called you to do good, even if it means suffering. Just as Christ suffered for you, he is your example, and you must follow in his steps. That I just read to you looks like weakness to a lot of people, including people who've been around church stuff for the Bible for all their lives. People who literally preach every week will, like, okay, I don't know what to do about that. Like let's just skip over this. It doesn't really mean this. He does mean it. Now, Peter himself, just like Daniel, gets in trouble, even as they're submitting to authority. The fact that they fear God above all else is going to get them in trouble. So this is not saying that you abandon faith for the expediency of just whatever the king says. Like, we know that. And yet, this is true. And why is it glorifying to God if we act this way? Because it sure looks on the outside like it's weakness, right? You're supposed to submit to your masters with all respect, do what they tell you. God is pleased when you patiently endure just treatment. He's pleased by this. God calls you to do good, even if it means suffering. It's God's will that your honorable lives should, God's glorified. No, for the Lord's sake, it says, submit to all human authority, whether the king is head of state or the head of state, the officials he's appointed, For the Lord's sake. And so why is it for the Lord's sake? Just to run through a few ideas for this. Like, why does this glorify God for us to willingly suffer? And I think it's because it makes Jesus visible to people. Anger and revenge, the typical way that people react of hitting back, the anger and revenge do not show that to people. It gives people a chance to see God at work for real. If I'm mistreated by my neighbor, but I respond with love consistently, and it doesn't mean I don't have boundaries. It's the way I have the boundaries. It's the way I act, the way I am rooting for them. That's what changes everything. So the way I do it gives them a chance to actually see that God is for real. So that's why it's glorifying to God. That's why it's for his sake. Living honorably means they can't just dismiss me. They can try. They can just dismiss us as troublemakers or something if we're just like them. We're just as angry and we hit low, just like when they hit low, and we're willing to go there too. Like we'll hit them back. Like then we can be easily dismissed as we're just troublemakers. But if we're really part of another kingdom and we're actually drawing security and life from that other kingdom, again, it makes God visible. And last thought about this, there's much more to say, but like to keep these short. When we respond with love to people, even in disagreeing, even about matters that are incredibly important, but we don't just call people names and we don't respond with vengefulness, it proves that we believe what we say we believe, which is that we're ultimately going to be vindicated. Authorities can do what they want to us and have historically, but we've got this in our back pocket that we know we're ultimately vindicated. We ultimately have nothing to worry about. So if we're trying to seize at power and coercion at all costs and trying to control people, that does not prove that. It only does when we do exactly what Jesus did. Remember the stuff that Jesus did, it wasn't out of weakness. He was still in control the entire time. He even said in John, no one takes it from me, but I lay down, talking about his own life. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down, and I have authority to take it up again. This charge I have received from my Father. So on the outside, it looks like weakness, but he's still in control, and he knows it. And so Pilate boasts about his ability to, like, I can have you crucified or whatever. Like Jesus said, you would have no authority over me if it wasn't already given to you by my Father. Like, you don't have, I'm still in control of this whole thing. Can you imagine how that must have occurred to Pilate? Like, he's representing the power of Rome itself. And here's this guy. It's like, yeah, you wouldn't have any authority at all if it wasn't for me, basically. So that's just, it had to just like, wow. But this is not weakness. This is the way of Jesus. So in sum on this, if you want to live this out, knowledge accrual is not going to get it done. Just learning more. We know this about becoming more like Jesus, being transformed in his image, to have that kind of attitude where we can respond with love to even people who want to kill us. Knowledge accrual is not going to get it done. Just learning more stuff, just getting another Christian book, although there's some great ones out there, in fact, new ones that are out there. But that's not going to do it. Obedience is actually going to get it done. Actually doing the things that he taught us to do. Hearing, yes. Putting them into action. That's what's going to do it. Some of the most astute people you may know theologically are so full of like barely disguised anger and selfishness and insecurity, but they've got all the answers. They may have all their doctrinal ducks in a row. They've checked off the list of intellectual assent on all the right, correct doctrines. And then there might be other people who are spiritually brand new, who are actually more advanced in the kingdom and closer to the kingdom than they are, because they're actually trusting God and they're actually going to obey this stuff. So I just want to encourage you, how we respond out of strength, but it's still loving towards people. This is the way to go. Doesn't make them right. Doesn't mean that things don't matter, that we shouldn't protect the vulnerable, do what it takes to do that. But it's how we respond. And it makes Jesus visible when we actually respond in a way that people would never expect. This whole thing is shocking to people because no one else is doing this. You may have noticed that. Nobody else.